7:38, Luke Combs and Love You Anyway, Country 106.1. Good morning. We've got sunshine and 14. What a great way to kick off a Friday. This is Corey Kent. Hi, I'm Lyle McGillivray. I've been in the broadcasting industry for radio for about 39 and a half years, almost 40, all of which were on the air as an announcer. The one thing about radio is that it's always interesting to people, and I was no different than anybody else. I was busy grading roads in Saskatchewan, and I had the radio on, and I got thinking one day, listening to it, I thought, man, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could be a radio announcer. I thought about going to school for it in Edmonton or Calgary, but before I applied, I contacted the radio station in Medicine Hat. I had met the program director, a very nice guy by the name of Pat O'Connor. And he said, yeah, come on in, Lyle. He said, I'll give you a tour. I'll meet you here on such and such a date. And I went in and I had a tour of the place, sat down. I did some voicing with him as well, just to have some fun. And after about 2 hours, I drove away and I thought, well, that was pretty cool. At that time, I thought, that's it. So I got back to Saskatchewan, and about 2 weeks later, my phone rang one day, and here it was Pato, which is what we all called him. And he goes, hey, Lyle, I just thought I'd give you a quick call. If you want to volunteer a couple of hours and come in and see if you like this radio thing, I may be able to hire you part-time. And I went, really? He goes, yeah. I said, I'm in for that. So as it turned out, I started working on the weekends doing the all-night show. It was Midnight McGillivray in Medicine Hat from 12 to 6 a.m. And I did that for 9 months. And then I drove back every Sunday night to run the grader Monday through Friday. So it was a busy 9 months, but it was worth it because it led to a full-time offer after those 9 months. And that's how everything started, thanks to Pat O'Connor. Good morning, it's 7:49. And it's the Big Breakfast Show with McGillivray in the morning for the Southern Plains Co-op. A very nice Friday morning for the first day of summer. We've got sunshine and 14. I spent 9 months part-time in Medicine Hat before I got my first offer to be full-time, which was midnights. And it was a great shift. You had all kinds of fun. You had wide open freedom. If somebody called in the wintertime with a bad highway report, boom, you put them on the air live, you talk about Highway 3 to Lethbridge, not good. Whatever the case may be, it was just a nice free shift to play a lot of music and get your callers on the air. I took requests all night as well, so it was great. It was awesome. And then I got full-time and I ended up doing midnights and some evening work and whatever else. And I did that for 3 years until I came to Estevan. And that led to mornings. Many, many years ago, I took over the morning show, and I've been doing it ever since. So that alarm goes off at 3:30 in the morning, and out of the 5 days a week, it might actually go off 3 times. The other 2, I'm up and moving. So I always tell everybody that I've worked every shift there's possible to work. So I've went right around the clock. Good morning, it's 8:08, and welcome to the Big Breakfast Show. And with it being Friday morning, Fava's Friday Trivia Time with Toe Beanco. What do you call a cat that has extra toes? Text your answers. For an announcer, it's always about the audience, the listeners. And for me, I'm no different than anybody else. The cool thing about radio is that you never know who's listening or for how long. It might be just for 15 minutes each and every morning while they're getting ready to start their day. Or it might be all day at the office every day. You don't know. You have no idea. You just know there's a core audience. And you get to meet a lot of these people when you're out at events or over the phone when you're doing contesting. And that's the best part of the job, is the interaction that you grow and develop with your listeners. And it's all about a relationship. And they trust you with everything you say, whether it's a storm coming into the area or to join you on the radio live. That's a form of trust that you've gained between you and your listeners. And that's pretty cool when you start to think about it, because you're in no man's land. You really don't know how many are listening each and every morning. Radio has always had a great relationship with their community, because it's the old saying, you don't know what you have until you lose it. And if a community was to lose their radio station, it would be a big loss, because radio is all about home base, right? And yeah, you can get your music from any platform you want, but you're not going to hear about the stuff that's going on in your backyard, which is why local radio is so important to every community. It's amazing. I've helped so many businesses open with a live broadcast over the years. Others have shut down, and I've done their closing out sale, which is, I'd rather do the grand reopening than the closing out part, but it's life, it happens. Just being involved in the community like that is amazing, and that's just from a business side. Then you've got the volunteer work, and that's all part and parcel of being in a community, supporting your community, helping grow your community, and being a part of it. And that's a win-win for any radio announcer, because you meet these people at meetings and whatever, and they find out who you are, they recognize your voice, and it goes full circle. They go back home, and the next day they might turn the radio on, and all of a sudden there's another listener that's checking in on a daily basis. And they get to know you, and you become their friend. Honest to God, you become their friend. And for me, I always looked at it like it was a win-win. I was involved in the community, I met some really great people, I made some new friends, and I gained a few listeners along the way as well. And I appreciate each and every one of them. It's amazing how the industry has changed when it comes to specifically radio. Back in the mid-'80s, we were playing 45s, records, 2 turntables, 2 reel-to-reel machines, and a board with a clock that we had to knock the glass out of the face of it so that we could adjust the second hand to be on time for everything. You were busy in that control room. And the commercials came on a cart that was about the size of an 8-track, for anybody that remembers 8-tracks. And each one of those carts had one commercial. And we had 2 3-tiered decks, so you could load 6 commercials. And if they're 30 seconds long, that was, 3 minutes. That's all you had during a stop set, but you had to keep flipping them around. And same with the records. When one record died and you did a break, you had the other record ready to go, because when you started it, you needed that song. And it was just amazing. I mean, the atmosphere in the old days was busy, but it was so much fun. The changes in technology didn't just go from 45s and records to computers. We saw a lot of changes in between. We went from the records to CDs, and then we started playing songs on CD players, and you had 2 CD players left and right. And we thought they were great. At the time, is that you stuck a CD in and you chose number 9, and that was a certain song that you needed. Meanwhile, the other CD was playing. So you'd cue that song, and just like a record, you'd cue it and you're ready to go. And that would have been around the late 80s, early 90s when we were playing CDs. Nowadays, everything is computerized. And it's just amazing, the technology, where it was then compared to where it is today. Back then, you had to pull your entire shift of records from the record library, which might be, 25, 30 yards away. So you had all these records going into your shift. Nowadays, you walk into the control room, everything is on the computer, the log is done for the entire day from midnight to midnight. You just step in and take over at your shift time, and away you go. Everything is computerized. Picking a song, no problem. For a request show, Alabama, boom. There's all your Alabama songs. You need a 3-minute song, boom, there's all your 3-minute songs. And if an old guy like me can do it, anybody can do it. But that's an extreme. Like, I've been very fortunate to adjust and hang on to the reins of all the technology changes that I've seen in 39 plus years. But it really is day and night compared to what it used to be back in the old days. It's hard to believe, but these headphones have been with me for the entire career. I bought them in Medicine Hat at Visions Electronics in 1989, and I paid $90 for them at that time. They're Sennheisers 414s, really nice headphones. These earpieces, these pads, used to be bright yellow, and as the years went by, they changed them to black. But honest to goodness, those things, I never replaced them. I had to replace a few cords. They just plug in, real easy. And when I tell other broadcasters that I paid $90 for them back in 1989, they just laugh and tell me, boy, did you get tattooed. Which I maybe did. But you buy a set of headphones and have them last 40 years and then come back and talk to me. Let's see what we got in this one. Oh, this has got a lot of the goodies in here. A lot of the goodies. Look at this. This goes back a few years. That is a reel-to-reel tape, and it looks like it's got some old splitters of my show on it.
Dairy Queen, eh?
That's what it would have been at one time. That's what a commercial came on years ago. And then you just record over top of stuff, right? And this has got my splitters for my show, and that's what it looks like inside.
And that's those reel-to-reels?
That's reel-to-reel, yeah. That's a small reel-to-reel. But that's what everything used to be recorded on years ago. Right in the very bottom is my wonderful radio scrapbook. So let's have a look and see what's in here. There's not a whole bunch, but there are some good things. Oh, look at that. There we go. This goes back to the days in Medicine Hat. New sticker, 1986. New sticker, 1987. 1989, that's when I started in Estevan, June 1st. 1989. There's always interesting things that you come across in radio. One of the big ones was Y2K. I remember I had to be at the station at midnight and make sure that the computers didn't shut off and die, because that was the expectation, is that this is going to happen when the year rolls around. And I came down and I was standing here in front of the monitor, watching the monitor and wondering, well, if it dies, what am I going to do? And the anticipation was incredible. And nothing happened. It was normal. It worked just fine. And I stood there and I kind of shook my head and I thought, well, I'm going back home. That was a waste of time. But that was one thing that, you know, strikes me as kind of funny. But other fun stuff over the years that we've had happen, in the early 90s, we did a Survivor at the old radio station where the staff slept overnight and participated in this Survivor, which was on TV at that time, right? People could phone in and vote people off, and that's how we determined who was getting kicked out. But we had sleeping bags on the floor, and the entire staff was participating in this, and we could go on the radio and plea, you know, why you should keep me in. And it was so much fun, but it was simple, really simple, clean, fun. And I know there's people out there today that was involved in that would remember it just like yesterday. It was just a blast. Every once in a while you run into somebody who will say things like, I've been listening to you for a long time, Lyle, longer than you even know. And that is a true statement, because I mentioned before that you have no idea who's listening when. But when that happens, it creates a conversation, and you may discuss when they started listening, how often they listen. And that is such a compliment when you think about it. And you haven't met this person until today. It's all about relationships, developing and growing relationships with your audience, with all the businesses in your community and surrounding communities as well. And it's all about trust, developing relationships, and just providing the best information you can, because people can pick any platform they want. And I've always felt so overjoyed, I guess, that people have taken the time to listen to the station that I'm working for, or to my show. When you think about it, that packs a little bit of weight, because they don't have to. But when they do, and you hear from them, and they compliment you, you know you're doing something right. But it's just amazing that, you know what, sometimes it's just for a few minutes, sometimes it's all day. But at the end of the day, that relationship in your community, with your businesses, and your audience, it really is just amazing. Radio isn't going to be going anywhere. It really isn't. And anybody who wants to give it a shot, I say get at it. Because if you've got the right attitude and personality and work ethic, you'll do just fine. And that'll be for radio or television, just the broadcast industry in general. But it's a fun career. Yeah, you got to put in some hours and do some work, but it's a fun career. Gordy Bamford, where farm used to be, from CJ 1150, Southeast Saskatchewan Superstation. Good morning, it's 7:22. Now bottoms up on CJ 1150, Southeast Saskatchewan Superstation at 6:26, partly cloudy and 10.
At 6:50, we'll have another edition of the Pizza Hut Morning Brainbuster. Name that tune this morning. Country 106.1 with Nate Smith, and you got to fix what you didn't break. Good morning and welcome to the Big Breakfast Show with McGillivray in the morning for our final show.
It's amazing how fast the time goes by. It really is. When I look at my career of just shy of 40 years experience, just amazing how fast that time goes by. And I can't thank the people that were involved in those years, both Medicine Hat and Estevan enough, whether it was owners or staff, listeners, they all come together. But it was just a really, really amazing career. And I thank everybody for being a part of it in one way or another, whether you took the time to listen or call in or spoke to me on a street corner, while we were waiting for a walk sign. That counts too. There's no doubt that I'm going to miss being on the radio each and every morning from 6 to 9, communicating with listeners, talking to people, having fun. The listeners have been there all along. They love the radio station, not just listening to the Big Breakfast Show, but just listening to the radio station all day long. And the staff, they're amazing as well. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be tough, but on the same token, everybody comes to that point where it's time to slide away. I've been thinking about retirement for quite a while, but I just didn't take the step. And the time has finally come, but I've been kind of working on a bridge, and that's my photography. I've got a nice gallery over at the Estevan Market Mall. Curtis and I get out to do the Moose Whisperer a couple of times a year, which is a great show. But my photography, I'll be up and out, taking pictures early in the morning, spending more time at the gallery over at the mall. And I'll still have my visits with my listeners. They'll stop by, I know they will, and have a visit. But overall, that's kind of the transition that I'm looking forward to. And it's going to be tough. It isn't going to be easy, trust me. But I want to grow my photography even more than what I have. I want to be able to spend more time with family, because at the end of the day, you got to thank family for all this as well. For all the early evenings where you bail out of the living room and say, guys, I got to go to bed, good night, see ya. And then the early mornings when you're waking everybody up at 3:30 with the alarm and getting ready for work. So a big thank you has to go out to family on this, because all the support over the years from them has been nothing but amazing. And without them, it probably wouldn't have happened. So it's been pretty interesting, to say the least.
Country 106.1 with Savannah Jade, and he's the one. Hey, it's almost lunchtime, and it's that time of the day right now where I have to sign off. It's my final break, and 35 plus years here in Estevan. I spent a few years in Medicine Hat prior to that. When I arrived in Estevan in 1989, June the 1st as a matter of fact, it was owned by Sioux Line Broadcasting, and then Golden West took it over in 1995. And we've been rolling ever since, but all good things have got to come to an end. And I'll tell you what, I have to thank my family, Betty, and of course, Curtis and Matthew. Lots of early mornings, lots of early evenings, And anything I do, it's going to be simple, right? So we're going to keep this nice and simple. So many thanks to the family for all these years of support. And the audience, boy, here in Southeast Saskatchewan. I can't thank you folks enough. It's just been an amazing ride. All the communities that I've managed to sneak into over the years, thank you so much. Out of all the choices for you, you chose us. And when I say us, I mean the entire team. It's amazing how things work. So many, many thanks. I'll miss everybody. Now, when it comes to the staff, what an amazing staff you've got here in Estevan. It's just incredible. These are all young, caring people who care about you and care about the community. And they are wonderful people. So many, many thanks to the staff for everything they've done for me over the years. And my goodness, it has been fun. And that's great. Now, when it comes to Golden West, many, many thanks to Golden West as well, because they kept an old guy around, They helped him learn some new technology. They didn't let him go. And you know what? I appreciate that so much. Lots of support, and wow, I can't thank Golden West enough. So that's it. Thank you so much, Southeast Saskatchewan. And you know what? I want to wrap things up today. Betty's favorite song, hands down, is Garth Brooks with The River. And I'm going to continue to sail my vessel. Thank you so much.